Hey everyone, so I'm going to try reading through this the way that we usually would in class. So if you could make sure that you have your document open so that you can highlight along like we would do in class, that would be great. Before we get started, I want to remind everybody to recognize their text. And if you don't remember how to do that, you're going to go to Tools, you're going to click on um, Recognize Text, and you're going to click in this file, and you're going to click OK. Let it recognize your text so this way you can do your highlighting. All right, mine is done. Make sure you hit save. And now we should all be able to highlight. All right, the Louisiana Purchase. In the late 1700s, American settlers crossed over the Appalachian Mountains. These settlers moved to Kentucky, Tennessee, and the land north of the Ohio River Valley. So let's start by highlighting this first sentence. Okay, and it tells us that this is when everybody started to move west out of the colonies. They cleared the land and planted crops. People in other states and in Europe wanted to buy the crops. The settlers had to get goods to those people. Since it was hard to carry things over mountains, the settlers used the Mississippi River. So let's also highlight that. So I want everybody to remember that there were no buses, there were no trucks, there were really not many trains yet either. Okay. And if there were, they really weren't as connected as what we think of today. So the easiest way to move things was on a boat through the water. And the Mississippi River, we know, is long. It runs down kind of that part of the country next to the Appalachians. And it comes out down in New Orleans. So it allowed them to move all of these goods up and down the country. The crops were sent down the river on boats to the port in New Orleans, Louisiana. Spain owned New Orleans and allowed the United States to use the port. Warehouses stored goods until they were ready to be shipped. Let's highlight this whole paragraph because that's kind of important, right? So Spain owned New Orleans. Remember, we originally were owned by Great Britain and we were just those 13 colonies. And Louisiana, that was not part of the 13 colonies. When we started moving west, Spain let us use this port to store our goods until they were ready to be shipped to other countries, especially Europe. Napoleon Bonaparte, the leader of France, made a deal with Spain. In 1800, Spain secretly gave New Orleans and the rest of Louisiana to France. When the United States found out about the deal, President Jefferson was concerned. He worried that if France got New Orleans, Napoleon would not let Americans use the port. So let's highlight that. He worried that if France got New Orleans, Napoleon would not let Americans use the port. So we had this great deal with Spain, and then Spain gave it to France, and we were like, not really sure what was going to happen. To solve the problem, Jefferson decided to buy New Orleans from France. If the United States owned New Orleans, Americans could use the port there. Jefferson asked Robert Livingston, the American representative in Paris, France, to make the deal. Livingston started working on a plan to buy New Orleans. Let's highlight this sentence. Okay? Robert Livingston was basically the United States representative in France. He was like the ambassador. Okay? He was talking on behalf of the United States. In 1802, the United States was told it could not use the port anymore. This was what Jefferson had been afraid of. He sent his advisor, James Monroe, to Paris. Monroe would get together with Livingston and help speed up the deal with France. By that time, Napoleon did not have much money. One of France's colonies had been taken over by the slaves who lived there. The former slaves renamed the colony Haiti. Thousands of French troops were sent to fight in Haiti. Many of them died from yellow fever and other diseases. To replace these troops, France needed money. So it's important to understand, let's highlight these two things. We're going to highlight this first sentence and this last sentence, that because Napoleon was in charge of France, an empire that had colonies, he had to help keep those colonies under control, and he would do that with his military. But when his military kept fighting and then they kept dying, he needed money to pay people to continue to be part of the military and to pay for all those weapons and things. So France was looking for a way to get money. So this is really only 1 year later. So for 1 year, we weren't allowed to use the port, and Monroe and Livingston were working on this deal to try and buy just New Orleans. Okay? Napoleon decided to sell New Orleans and the rest of Louisiana to the United States. He asked the Americans for $15 million. Monroe and Livingston accepted the offer. In October 1803, the Louisiana Territory became part of the United States. It included the area between the Mississippi River and the Rocky Mountains. For only pennies per acre, the United States had doubled its size. So let's just highlight this first sentence. And we're going to highlight these in October 1803 and the it included sentence. So $15 million is a lot of money. $15 million was also a lot of money in 1803. But the amount of land that the United States got for $15 million, we really didn't pay a lot of money for it. If you even go back up and look at this map where I know nothing is really labeled, but you can see New Orleans kind of, Louisiana is right down here, right? Look at all this other land that we added, okay? And you'll see in the Ed puzzle that you're going to watch the names of all of the states that are in there. We added 14 new states, or parts of some of those states, but 14 new states were added for $15 million. So I think we kind of got a good deal. Okay, I hope this helps. Make sure you use the reading and your highlights to help you with the multiple choice and the crossword, and eventually we will probably do the rest of the packet.